Just let me get him. We were just planning our Mother's Day dinner that I was cooking for everybody like I always do.
I have covered many disturbing and heartbreaking stories of mothers losing their lives at the hands of their own husbands. Most of these cases have sparked strong opinions and suggestions from the community. Today, I want to share stories where mothers were tragically killed by their husbands just moments after their wedding. I bring you these stories so we can reflect together and discuss where the fault lies in such crimes, with the goal of educating people who are preparing for marriage. I will be glad to read your advice and opinions in the comments below. Let's begin with the most recent story. In the early hours of March 30th, 2025, a 38-year-old mother was found dead with her 42-year-old wedded husband inside their apartment. Around 4:30 a.m., when police responded to a 911 call about a domestic disturbance situation in an apartment in the 5900 block of Ronmar Drive, what they didn't expect to find was the lifeless bodies of a couple who had just had what many would consider a perfect wedding for a perfect couple.
Alexandria police say at around 4:30 a.m., they responded to a domestic disturbance in the 5900 block of Ronmar Drive. Two bodies were discovered upon arrival, 38-year-old Chhaterica Smith and 42-year-old Tracy Johnson.
Authorities say it appears that both died from gunshot wounds, but that Johnson's appeared to be self-inflicted.
Their public displays of love made them the talk of the town, and many believed they had it all. However, behind closed doors, their relationship was far from the fairy tale it appeared to be. The very man whom Chhaterica had said "I do" to and showed off as the perfect partner turned out to be the one who would ultimately end her life.
Nigga.
38-year-old Chhaterica Danielle Smith was born on November 9, 1986, in Alexandria, Louisiana. While little is known about her father, Chhaterica shared a close and loving bond with her mother, Terry Smith, who played a significant role in shaping her life. Family and friends remember Chhaterica as a vibrant soul, full of love and joy, with a natural gift for spreading positivity. Her passion for dancing and her ability to uplift others made her truly unforgettable. During her time at Peabody Magnet High School, Chhaterica was actively involved in various extracurricular activities, always making her presence known through her magnetic energy. She graduated with honors in 2005, leaving a lasting impression on classmates and teachers alike. That same vibrant personality extended into something more. To those who knew her, Chhaterica was the life of the party. She could party like there was no tomorrow. Her lively spirit and contagious energy could light up any room. She also had an impeccable sense of style. Fashion was one of her many passions, and she had a talent for putting together eye-catching outfits. Many of her looks, which she proudly shared on social media, where friends and family admired her confidence and flair. Chhaterica was known for her boundless compassion and generosity. She showed care and consideration to everyone she encountered. Her love was genuine, given freely and without hesitation, making her a bright light in the lives of many. So it came as no surprise when she caught the attention of a man who would change her life forever. Chhaterica would eventually meet a man. For the sake of this story, let's call him Chris. The two connected instantly. They were both young, shared similar interests, and seemed to truly enjoy each other's company. Though not much is publicly known about Chris, it was clear the two quickly fell for one another. They spent a lot of time together, and before long, their relationship took a significant turn. Chhaterica discovered she was pregnant. Both Chhaterica and Chris were overjoyed by the news. They couldn't wait to become parents and start this new chapter of their lives together. Despite the surprise of it all, they were excited. Their families were thrilled to see the young couple so in love, and everyone supported them as they prepared for the arrival of their baby. Chhaterica in particular was filled with joy and anticipation, looking forward to what the future held with Chris by her side. A few months later, they welcomed their baby girl, Kinsley. Almost immediately, Kinsley became Chhaterica's world. Her social media lit up with sweet moments and snapshots of their life together.
Kinsley!
Smiles, laughter, milestones. But the joys of motherhood didn't stop there. Not long after, the family grew once more with the arrival of a baby boy. Their presence brought even more love and joy into Chhaterica and Chris's household. With her nurturing spirit and boundless devotion, Chhaterica poured her energy into raising her children, creating a home filled with warmth, laughter, and endless love. But love alone wasn't enough to hold everything together. Slowly, cracks began to form beneath the surface. The pressures of parenthood soon began to take a toll on Chhaterica and Chris's relationship, and the weight of new responsibilities created tension between them. As their romantic connection grew strained, so did their ability to co-parent effectively. Eventually, the relationship came to an end. Despite the breakup, Chris remained present in the early years of his children's lives, but as Chhaterica turned the page on her past, she found herself stepping into a new chapter, one that would set off a chain of events that no one could have imagined. Due to Chhaterica's vibrant personality and social charm, it was not long before she would cross paths with someone who shared similar interests as her. Chhaterica found love again, this time with a man, 42-year-old Tracy Johnson Williams. From the first moment they met, Tracy treated Chhaterica with love and affection. He often surprised her with thoughtful gestures, small gifts, kind words, and romantic dates that made her truly feel cherished. As their connection deepened, they began sharing their journey on social media. Their vlogs captured glimpses of their everyday lives, romantic getaways, parties, and quiet moments that spoke volumes. They were fun, affectionate, and seemingly inseparable. But sometimes, whether traveling, partying, or simply enjoying life together, their chemistry was undeniable. Tracy appeared to be not just a devoted partner, but someone who genuinely admired Chhaterica's ambition. He celebrated her on Mother's Day, surprising her with a family get-together. But what truly made their bond stand out was how seamlessly their love extended beyond just the two of them. What made the relationship more beautiful was the fact that Chhaterica's 2 children and long-term plans. Her family was thrilled to see Chhaterica with someone she adored so much. She was clearly head over heels, and Tracy's charm and attentiveness made it easy to believe in their love story. She enjoyed the attention, but more than that, she appreciated finally having someone who seemed to understand and support her drive and vision. With love blossoming and their future looking bright, it felt only natural when Tracy decided to take the next step. After a few years of dating, Tracy finally proposed. Chhaterica happily said yes, and the couple soon tied the knot in what she described as the best day of her life. But as we're all familiar, marriage brings new responsibilities, and that was no different for Chhaterica. While she was known for her vibrant personality and love for the spotlight, Chhaterica knew she had to tone things down a bit. She embraced a more mature image, made a few lifestyle changes, and let go of certain habits that didn't align with her new role as a wife. But even with the changes, her essence never faded. She still loved to go out, party, and dress in bold, confident styles that made her feel like herself. At times, she'd be seen wearing sexy outfits around her husband, choices that some critics felt were too much for a married woman. But to Chhaterica, it was just her being unapologetically herself, and to the outside world, it seemed to work perfectly. After their wedding, they appeared even stronger. Their bond looked unbreakable, and the love between them seemed to grow deeper. They were like twins mirroring each other in style, humor, and presence. They continued to be the couple everyone admired, and the standard many single people felt pressured to buy. Their love seemed effortless, enviable, and deeply rooted. But sadly, as we've seen so often, social media can hide painful truths. To friends and followers, Tracy was the ideal man. Many believed Chhaterica was incredibly lucky to have found such a supportive and loving husband. He presented himself as a great partner and a devoted stepfather. But Tracy was hiding a secret from Chhaterica. While Chhaterica was busy living her best life, traveling, socializing, and embracing her vibrant personality, Tracy, allegedly, began to grow resentful. He didn't appreciate the way she dressed or the trips she frequently took, especially as a married woman. Unbeknownst to Chhaterica, the very traits that once drew Tracy to her were now becoming sources of tension. She had no idea that her husband was struggling internally, that he was feeling threatened, insecure. To her, everything still felt full of life and love, but to him, it felt like he was losing control. Chhaterica, on the other hand, began to lean further into her independence. At this stage, she started going out even more, partying frequently, enjoying girls' trips, and showing off her confidence in new ways.
Cheers. What's up with us?
She posted more on social media, including cryptic captions and increasingly sexy videos of her getaways and vibrant nights out, capturing the life of someone determined to enjoy every moment. However, the more Chhaterica embraced her freedom, the more Tracy's behavior became unpredictable. He allegedly began exhibiting disturbing behavior, having mood swings, controlling tendencies, and emotional outbursts. Every time she returned from a trip or posted photos that showed her enjoying herself, it would allegedly spark heated arguments. Tracy couldn't handle it. To him, it felt like she was slipping away, and he was powerless to stop it. What Chhaterica believed was a healthy balance between marriage and personal freedom was, in Tracy's eyes, a threat to their relationship. Then one day, something tragic would happen, something that no one could have imagined. On March 30th, 2025, around 4:30 a.m., police responded to a 911 call, and the caller reported a domestic disturbance situation in an apartment on the 5900 block of Ronmar Drive. Upon arriving at the scene, authorities made a heartbreaking discovery. They found two people dead, a male and a female. They discovered that the female, 38-year-old Chhaterica Johnson, had died from a gunshot wound. What was even more disturbing was the male, who happened to be 42-year-old Tracy Johnson, had also died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
An apparent murder-suicide took place Sunday morning, sending shockwaves through the city. Alexandria police say at around 4:30 a.m., they responded to a domestic disturbance in the 5900 block of Ronmar Drive. Two bodies were discovered upon arrival, 38-year-old Chhaterica Smith and 42-year-old Tracy Johnson.
Authorities say it appears that both died from gunshot wounds, but that Johnson's appeared to be self-inflicted. They are investigating this incident as an apparent suicide. APD asks anyone with information about this incident to contact them at the number on your screen.
As investigators tried to piece together the details of that fateful night, they concluded allegedly that Chhaterica's growing independence, frequent outings, and active social media presence had likely triggered feelings of inadequacy and jealousy in Tracy. On the day of the incident, the couple may have engaged in a heated argument about the escalating tensions in their marriage. This confrontation seemingly reached a boiling point, and Tracy, overwhelmed by his own insecurities, believed that he was losing his wife. In a tragic turn, he decided that if he couldn't have her, no one else would. He then picked up a gun and shot Chhaterica, taking her life instantly. In the aftermath, Tracy, unable to cope with the weight of his actions, turned the weapon on himself. Despite outwardly presenting a picture-perfect marriage, their private lives had spiraled into intense emotional conflict, ultimately leading to a heartbreaking and tragic end. The news of Chhaterica and Tracy's death shocked friends, family, and the community, leaving them grappling with the tragic outcome of a relationship that had once seemed full of promise. While Chhaterica's life seemed happy and full of joy, her sudden death marked the end of a relationship filled with growing problems. Tracy, who had once been supportive, became controlling and disturbing, and eventually took his own life, leaving behind many unanswered questions and broken hearts. Chhaterica's children are left without their mother, a deep and painful loss that no child should have to endure. In an effort to support Chhaterica's children and provide them with some financial relief during this incredibly difficult time, a GoFundMe campaign was set up. The funds raised will go toward their immediate needs, funeral expenses, and their future care, ensuring they have the support they need to move forward without their beloved mother. The outpouring of love and support from the community only proves Chhaterica's vibrant spirit and the lasting impact she had on those around her. Despite the devastating loss, her children, family, and friends are determined to honor her memory and keep her spirit alive as they navigate this painful journey.
That girl look good.
I lost my daughter and my 2 grandchildren to something that I never imagined would happen.
On a quiet night on March 5th, 2021, a distressed neighbor called the police after hearing gunshots. When officers arrived at the scene, they found the window of the home in St. Louis shattered. Inside were the bodies of a 34-year-old mother, Roseann McCully, along with 2 of her children, 13-year-old son Caden Johnson and 6-year-old daughter Kaylee Brooks. The home was in disarray and the perpetrator was long gone. What was strange was that her husband, Bobby McCully, and their 1-year-old daughter were nowhere to be found. The police were left wondering why these 2 individuals were missing and whether the husband was involved with the crime. When they found out that Roseann had been posting cryptic messages on social media before her death, the case took a darker turn. This is the story of Roseann McCully, a mother of 3, and her 2 children whose lives were taken too soon. Before we get into the details of this case, we would like to extend our condolences to the family and friends of the 3 victims. We would also want to use this case as a close reminder to everyone to be careful with who we trust or let into our lives. By the way, I post true crime cases about mothers every week. If that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing. It really helps a lot. This crime took place in St. Louis, Missouri. Located along the Mississippi River, it is a city rich in culture, history, and iconic landmarks. However, St. Louis has struggled with a high violent crime rate with over 200 homicides yearly. Unfortunately, this case would add 3 more names to the list. Roseann McCully, also known as Rosie, was an immensely creative and compassionate individual. She was known for her quick wit, her love for art, and her dedication to her custom-designed business, Glitter on the 8th. Rosie was a mother to 3 amazing children, whom she loved dearly. She was a serious go-getter who believed in making her own money and financial independence. But behind her joyful public image, Rosie was battling a reality that she increasingly shared online, a relationship tainted by abuse. You see, Rosie and the man named Bobby McCully had met and been together for years. From the outside, it may have seemed like a typical relationship, but court records later showed a history of turmoil and violence that started well before they got married. In fact, Rosie filed a domestic violence complaint against Bobby back in 2017. However, with limited evidence and Rosie's eventual decision not to press charges, the case was dropped, and the 2 remained together. The 2 officially tied the knot in July 2018, and he became the father of her youngest child. Friends recall that Rosie seemed genuinely excited on her wedding day, but that optimism was unfortunately short-lived. The years that followed were marked by a continuing pattern of abuse. Bobby would be so violent with her that she had to get treated frequently. Even the neighbors complained that the relationship was so toxic that they would hear Rosie and Bobby yelling from their homes at least 4 days a week. Sometimes they heard things breaking in the house. Rosie's social media became a window into her pain, with posts describing frightening incidents and pleas for support. Just days before being unalived, she posted about her struggle on the internet, saying, "I'm back home from the hospital, everyone. CT showed all my organs are good, but he was apparently able to stomp my chest and abdomen, so the bruising and swelling are really bad there. Some muscle damage, they think." Her pain was so immense that she required IV-administered morphine. The hospital even sent her home with more drugs because she was in so much pain. On another occasion, she described in detail how he had beaten her for not giving him enough attention, admitting she was ashamed of her injuries. Her husband, Bobby, commented on her page, "Everyone enjoying the show, more to come." So many people were surprised by the boldness to make such a comment after being accused of domestic violence. He did not even try to apologize for his action, but rather admitted that he would do it again. It was clear that the marriage was failing. In fact, Rosie made multiple calls to the police from January to February 2021, and some of them were domestic violence reports.
According to police records, multiple calls from the McCully home were made in the last couple of weeks, one of them for domestic violence.
Despite everything, Rosie tried to find the strength to break free. She kicked Bobby out and eventually publicly asked for help removing his belongings from her home, hoping this would allow her a fresh start. The two started working on their divorce at the end of February, but just a few days later, Rosie would meet the worst. On the night of March 5th, 2021, 35-year-old Bobby McCully broke into Roseann McCully's home with the intention of ending Rosie's life. One neighbor saw him breaking into the house at around 8:30 p.m., but when the police arrived, they did not find anything amiss, so they left. Many people have wondered whether this story would have been different if the police searched the house or even took the call seriously when they arrived. When the coast was clear, Bobby held Roseann and the children in the house and put them through abuse for hours before picking up his gun and shooting them. Then he grabbed their 1-year-old daughter and left. Another one of Rosie's neighbors called the police again when she heard gunshots. In her statement, she wrote that she woke up to screams, yelling, and a loud banging sound. That's when she noticed that Rosie's house lights flickered. 3 things which were strange. She then called to check up on Rosie twice, but there was no answer. At this point, she felt that something was strange, so she dialed 911. The police arrived and checked, but they didn't find anything at first. Thankfully, they went to the back, pointing their guns and mentioning that they were the police. When no one answered, they broke the door only to find the bodies of Roseann and her 2 kids by the entrance. It did not take long for the police to figure out that the main suspect was Bobby. Friends and neighbors admitted that the two would often quarrel, and he was recently kicked out. This made the police fear for the safety of the youngest daughter, so they issued an Amber Alert for her at about 4 a.m. An Amber Alert is a public notification system used in the United States to quickly disseminate information about missing children who are believed to have been taken away. When it is activated, law enforcement agencies distribute information about the missing child, the suspected person, and any relevant vehicle details via multiple channels, including television, radio, digital billboards, and mobile alerts. The police were desperate to find the little girl, so they made sure Bobby's picture was posted everywhere. The alert mentioned that he was likely in a silver 2010 Dodge Charger.
A friend believes that she was the last person to speak to Rosie alive. She last talked to Rosie around 6:30, but planned to check in regularly.
And I'm calling. She didn't answer. And I sent her a text message.
Around 10:30, St. John texted, "Answer me." The response was, "Busy, I will hit you back shortly." St. John wrote, "Girl, I was about to beat these streets," but then she realized that wasn't a normal response from Rosie. She wrote, "Bobby, let my niece go." There was no response. At the time, he may have still been in the house after killing Rosie and her 13-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter.
In fact, the authorities believe that he was the culprit. So he was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 7 counts of armed criminal action. Thankfully, in just 1 hour, the little girl was found safe, A source confirmed that the girl was dropped off at a family member's home in North St. Louis at about 3:30 a.m. on Friday, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol canceled the Amber Alert. The 1-year-old girl was immediately taken to an area hospital to be checked by doctors, and it was confirmed that nothing was wrong with her. That's when the police returned their attention to finding Bobby. A citywide manhunt was launched. The police even contacted Bobby's family, including his mother, but they all said that they could not find him. It was hard to find him, but one attempt on the city surveillance cameras picked up on Bobby's car driving near Goodfellow Boulevard and Natural Bridge Avenue, close to the city-county line in the North City. They followed his vehicle to the 1300 block of Clinton in the old North St. Louis neighborhood. Then, the worst thing happened. Officers were trying to arrest Bobby McCully, who had a gun. He hurt himself while sitting inside a car, and his life ended there. He was not brave enough to face his crimes and decided to take the easy way out. Unfortunately, he passed away from his injuries after committing such a terrible crime. The strange part about this arrest was that his car was found very close to his mother's apartment, which led the police to believe that she was lying when she said she had no idea where he was. Bobby's mother, Michelle Clayton, faced charges for allegedly misleading law enforcement during the search, apparently to protect her son. She was arrested and charged with a felony for hindering prosecution, with her bond set at $25,000. Authorities and community members alike expressed frustration with the handling of the case, feeling that past warnings had been overlooked.
They saw exactly what had been done to her, and they charged it as some misdemeanor, assault 3 or something, which meant they could only put out a wanted, which means that they weren't actively looking for him.
There were several instances where Roseann called the police on Bobby, but he was not arrested or taken to prison. Rather, a light warning was given, and unfortunately, it led to the death of 3 innocent victims. Bobby McCully's history of violence did not surprise many, but raised a lot of concern for women. It spanned over a decade, going back as far as 2008 with multiple incidents of domestic violence. Court records revealed that he was already feared by several women. In 2016, one woman filed a protective order against him, describing how Bobby had once pointed a gun at her and her child. Another woman had documented his threats toward her and her mother, detailing incidents where he sent a girlfriend to intimidate her at her mother's house. In addition to these incidents, Bobby had an earlier criminal case in 2010 when he admitted to false imprisonment, meaning he held someone against their will. He received a year of probation and an ankle monitor for his offense, but no jail time. People gathered around for a memorial service in Clayton the next Saturday after the death to honor Rosie and her 2 kids. Purple balloons were seen everywhere in the sky to mark the tragic passing. This was a symbol of people's wishes for them to find peace in the afterlife. Friends and family were heartbroken. Rosie was a cherished friend to many, described as loving, private, and sweet. Her close friend, Stephanie St. John, recalled being one of the last people to speak with Rosie. According to her, Rosie had only recently started opening up about the abuse she was enduring from Bobby, especially after a severe incident where he assaulted her. St. John had urged Rosie to seek safety for herself and her children, but Rosie had hesitated. Though authorities had been looking to arrest McCully for his past actions, they didn't consider him an immediate threat to Rosie and her family, stating there was no active warrant to ensure his capture. People, especially the neighbors, questioned how someone with Bobby's violent history could still pose such a danger to others, even with documented incidents spanning years. How come he wasn't immediately arrested despite having a criminal case for several years?
I've been trying all, I ain't even been asleep. I was trying to get to sleep, I'm devastated. Very sad day for that to happen this close to home. Excuse me for crying. They didn't deserve that. I never get over this one here. Very beautiful young lady.
It was simply outrageous. On March 13th, Rally for Rosie and people soon gathered outside the St. Louis County Justice Center in memory of Rosie, Caden, and Kaylee, and to demand better protections for domestic violence victims. Rosie's mother spoke out, expressing the family's heartbreak and frustration with the authorities' response, pointing out that Bobby's charges had been downgraded to misdemeanors, which led to a less urgent search for him. Representative Cori Bush also spoke out against violence at the rally.
We have to put focus in areas where there has not been real focus. And we know there has not been enough focus because it keeps happening. And so we have to do that work. And I am coming from, and you all know my story, I'm a survivor myself. And the only way I got out, this man standing right here in this Cori Bush shirt, my father, after almost 2 years and almost losing my life 3 times, my dad, I called him one day. I couldn't even talk to him. I didn't even want to talk to him. I was so ashamed about what I was going through, about what I was allowing. I was so hurt and broken. But one day I just picked up the phone at work and I called and I didn't say a word. And he didn't even know it was me. He just said, I'll be there to get you. And he gave me a time and I was ready with trash bags and I threw him out the door and my dad called him and threw him in his van, and that was the end of that situation. Saved my life.
There are many things about this case that give its tragedy more depth. Roseann McCully's story is a tragic example of how looking away from abuse, even for a short time, can result in unimaginable loss. Despite her efforts to reach out for help through complaints and social media posts, her situation was left largely unaddressed, leaving her and her children vulnerable to ongoing danger. At the end of it all, we're left with many questions. For instance, do you think that earlier intervention or a different approach may have changed this tragedy? Many wonder if the police response to previous complaints of abuse was good enough. Should authorities have done more when Rosie repeatedly reached out, or when neighbors expressed concerns about the escalating violence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Thanks for calling Duck Brother Communication, where we don't care if you owe us 3 cents, we will cut your phone off. This Keisha, what's up, pimp? What's up is y'all to cut my doggone phone off, like y'all retarded or stupid down there. Okay, ma'am, calm down, calm down. Ain't no calm down. Listen, I'm here to help you. Then help me. Say it with me, 1, 2, 3. I ain't saying nothing. Oh, I see, we got one of them. What's your name? It ain't in my name, it's in my mama name. What's your mama name? My mama name is Tamika. Dummy. And I heard that. Your mammy a dummy.
On the evening of March 27, a 36-year-old woman was brutally gunned down inside her own home by none other than her own husband. But what made this story even more shocking was something that happened over 10 years earlier. That same man had planned a deadly ambush to kill her and her boyfriend. She survived the attack, but her boyfriend didn't. Shockingly, just 2 weeks later, she married the man who had taken her boyfriend's life. Now the same man ended her life too, for one of the most senseless reasons. This is the heartbreaking case of Edwina Brown.
This is your man.
Yes.
Look at the screen.
That's mine. And
that's what you're going to settle for.
I'm going to stick beside him.
Edwina's tragic story unfolds in the community at Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, Arkansas is a place with a soaring crime rate that is 200% higher than that of the national average. And the most notable crimes that occur are burglary, aggravated assault, and homicide, which highlights the horrifying picture of this city, one that ultimately became the setting for Edwina's own tragic and violent end. Edwina Brown was born on May 16, 1986, in Little Rock, Arkansas, to Edwin Eugene Moore Sr. and the late Betty Jean Martin. She was the youngest of 4 children on her maternal side and the third of 9 children on her paternal side. Raised in a close-knit family, Edwina grew up in a city where the environment was nothing but challenging. Despite this, she was known to be resilient, warm, and determined. Edwina attended John Mlin High School, where she built strong friendships and maintained a lively social life. And right after high school, Edwina pursued her higher education at the University of Arkansas at Pulaski Tech, where she earned her associate's degree, a testament to her drive and ambition. As she stepped into adulthood, Edwina worked for several years as a phlebotomy technician, mastering her craft in the medical field before shifting her focus to entrepreneurship. She eventually launched her own clothing line called Bodacious Beauty Boutique, where she developed a loyal customer base and found meaningful ways to give back to her community.
It's gonna be in a medium and a small, and it's $5. Chhaterica, I'm watching Shameless, girl, and I can't stop watching. It's $5. I have a couple more of these. Tie up in the back. Kind of like a night dress. These are $5. And it's in a small and a large. I just started, Chhaterica.
But her creative energy didn't stop there. Edwina also had a deep love for dance, dedicating herself to mentoring young dancers. She spent 4 years as a dance coach for the Bejeweled dance team, where she coached aspiring performers, volunteered in organizing competitions, and even competed herself.
Kicking big shit with my feet on them. I ain't even gotta touch the bitch cause her baby daddy beat on. No, for real, beat her ass, then he skip.
Dance wasn't just an interest for her, it was a form of expression, a passion that brought her immense joy. At the same time, Edwina remained committed to her professional growth. In recent years, Edwina dedicated herself to her career as a customer service advocate at Blue Cross Blue Shield, where she worked tirelessly to support her family while continuing to chase her dreams. As the lively and social person that she was, Edwina shared all of this on social media, where she regularly posted funny videos and skits, bringing smiles to those who followed her.
I hate those mamas who be like, I didn't raise him like that. Well, bitch, who did? Huh? Who taught him that, Patricia?
Do women still like flowers? Or do I gotta get a...
Give me an A, babe. Give me an A. Flowers gonna die. I'm gonna get high.
What's the face you make when someone you don't like walks in the room?
And her outgoing and social personality made her well loved online. Through all this, she raised her daughter, Danielle Michelle, whom she had from a previous relationship. Edwina was not just living, she was building a future, working hard to make a difference in her life and the lives of others. But everything changed when she met one man. At some point in 2012, Edwina met 27-year-old Danny Maurice Brown, a man who would ultimately bring darkness into her life. Their relationship started like any ordinary romance, with Edwina perhaps seeing potential in him. But beneath the surface, Danny harbored a dangerous possessiveness that he kept hidden.
I got you. Mr. All Hundreds, you know what I'm saying? Just to make it rain. Mr. Too Much Money.
Esau.
You doing this shit too long.
Ronell, don't come on here with no jokes.
Who is that?
Ronell, he working at Verizon, but he a comedy.
In time, his nature surfaced and Edwina would finally see the true colors of Danny. Edwina soon came to realize the danger of Danny's control and obsession, but it wasn't long until his dark nature would reach a devastating climax. Edwina eventually recognized the warning signs and made the difficult decision to leave him. She found love again with 22-year-old Daniel Hill, a man who treated her with kindness and respect, but Danny refused to let her go. Consumed by jealousy and rage, Danny believed that Edwina belonged only to him. If he couldn't have her, no one could. This twisted obsession led him to orchestrate a brutal attack that would change everything. On January 3rd, 2012, Danny hired 2 men to ambush and kill both Edwina and Daniel. He told the gunmen that he did not care how they killed them, but asked them not to hurt the kids. Edwina and Daniel weren't together for very long when the tragic incident would fall on them. They were coming home to their apartment on Green Mountain Drive on that fateful day when the series of violent events happened. Just in front of their apartment, they were cornered by the gunmen Danny hired. In just moments, the couple was shot. Edwina on the shoulders, while Daniel was shot multiple times, with the location of his injuries unknown to the public. They were then both brought to the hospital. Edwina recovered from her injuries. However, Daniel, unfortunately, did not make it. But this is only the beginning of the violence Danny would unleash. As the authorities investigated the brutal attack of Edwina and Daniel, the two gunmen were eventually found and held accountable. One of the gunmen was identified as Quentin Bernard Jones, who was charged with first-degree murder and criminal attempt to commit murder. This arrest, however, still does not give justice to the death of Daniel, and so Quentin did not hesitate to point at Danny as the mastermind of the entire attack. He confessed the involvement and orders made by Danny to end the lives of the couple. But just when it seemed like Danny would finally pay for his crime, an unexpected turn changed everything. A key witness refused to cooperate, which caused the prosecutors to drop the charge of capital murder against him. And so, he got away with the murder and walked free. Meanwhile, the two gunmen faced the full force of the law, with one receiving 55 years in prison, while the other was sentenced to life behind bars. But while the world was reeling for the failure of serving justice, what happened next was even more shocking. Just 2 weeks after the brutal attack that ended her boyfriend's life and put her in danger, Edwina married the very man who was responsible for the tragedy she faced. This decision defied logic, leaving the people around her asking, why? Whether out of manipulation or the thought that she could change him, it wasn't clear.
This is your man.
Yes.
Look at the screen.
That's mine. And
that's what you're going to settle for.
I'm going to stick beside him.
Unbeknownst to Edwina, this action would ultimately be the cause of another tragedy a decade later. For almost 11 years, Edwina and Danny lived together and got married. Throughout the years of being together, everything continued as if the tragedy that cost one man his life did not happen. They even had a child together, who they named Danny Maurice Brown III. They would constantly be seen in social media sharing skits of their seemingly happy family. To outsiders, it seemed as though their marriage was an attempt to move on, and a chance to rebuild after the chaos of their past. All this time, she continued with her work, cared for her children, and continued to do her passions in life. But behind the cameras and inside their home, their relationship was far from stable, and it wasn't long until the same violent nature of Danny would surface. And on March 27, 2024, the peace that Edwina had tried to build came crumbling down. That day started like any other, but as the hours passed, tensions began to rise. Around 4 p.m., Danny Brown arrived at Edwina's home at 4704 Fairley Drive in Little Rock, Arkansas, where she had been living apart from him. At first, it was just one of those arguments that couples would have, but soon, the tension between them grew to something even more dangerous. It was at this point when Danny finally snapped. As the confrontation grew more intense, Danny's temper flared beyond control. Words turned into threats, and soon, threats turned into violence. Danny pulled out a gun and shot Edwina. In a matter of seconds, she was betrayed yet again by the man she gave another chance to. The same man who had once tried to kill her, and now had finished what he started 10 years ago. Right after shooting Edwina, Danny took off, trying to run from what he had done. When officers got to the scene, they found Edwina fighting for her life.
On March 27th, around 4 in the afternoon, police say Danny Brown went to his estranged wife's house on Fairley Drive in Little Rock.
The information we have is that Danny Brown entered the house. I guess maybe an argument ensued. He allegedly shot his wife.
It's been over a week since that happened, and police are looking to get Brown behind bars, including the U.S. Marshal's Office, who has been asked to help.
Well, of course, we want to do this as safely as possible. We don't want anyone to get hurt, including Danny Brown. Preferably, we'd rather Danny Brown just turn himself in, do the right thing.
Police have gotten close to arresting him, but they say he's made it clear he will not be taken in quietly.
One of our biggest tips, I guess, came from Danny Brown himself. He actually called the Little Rock Police Department, gave a statement to them, and then made the statement that he would basically either harm himself or harm others if he was ever cornered by, anyone, especially law enforcement.
If you see Danny Brown or know where he is, police ask that you not approach him because he is considered armed and dangerous. You should call the U.S. Marshal's Office instead.
Edwina was rushed to the hospital to try to save her, But despite emergency efforts, she succumbed to her injuries at a nearby hospital. The same man she had once trusted, the man she had chosen to forgive, had now become her executioner. News of Edwina's death spread quickly, and the police investigation immediately identified Danny Brown as the murderer of his wife, and the search for him immediately started.
And Ashley's with us now on set. Ashley, I know you've done a lot of research on this case today. How far are we getting? Do we know anything about this suspect?
Karen, it's still a process. We're still working to confirm a lot, but what we do know is there are possible cases against Mr. Brown right now, possibly out of state, so we're still working to confirm that and make sure that we know everything we can before we report it.
Absolutely, we must confirm. Well, we know you'll do that, Ashley. You do a fabulous job at stories like this. It's very delicate. Let us know what you find out in the meantime.
He was labeled armed and dangerous, and the public was warned not to approach him. For over a week, Danny stayed on the run, trying his best to evade the authorities. It wasn't long until the U.S. Marshals got involved in the pursuit of arresting Danny. But as law enforcement closed in, weeks went by, and Danny successfully evaded the grasp of police. But the hunt would soon come to a conclusion. On April 5, 2024, the U.S. Marshals tracked Danny down to an apartment in Dallas, Texas. As the officers cornered him, Danny made an attempt to do one last escape. He ran towards it to try and jump to once again evade the police, but it was not to be. As soon as he looked down the balcony, he found the police waiting for him. Trapped with no way out and realizing that running was no longer an option, Danny had no choice but to surrender. And with that, he finally raised his hands to surrender without a fight. Once in custody, Danny was extradited back to Arkansas. He now faces capital murder charges for the killing of his wife, Edwina Brown. The man who had once escaped justice after orchestrating a deadly attack was finally behind bars. But the battle for justice is still far from over. As of now, Danny awaits trial, finally facing the consequences of the violence that he inflicted on two innocent people. His arrest brought a sense of relief to the people that were left by the tragedy of Edwina's death, but it did not erase the pain of losing a mother, a friend, and a beloved member of the community. The road to justice is still long, and the trial will determine whether Danny will finally be held accountable for his actions, or if another loophole will allow him to escape punishment once again. On April 15, 2023, Edwina's friends and family gathered at the Williams Temple in Little Rock, Arkansas, to celebrate her life and the memories that she left with them. Filled with an overwhelming sense of grief, disbelief, and love, her loved ones gathered to celebrate the life she lived, even as they mourned the one that was stolen too soon. Edwina's story left the community reminded of the devastating consequences of unchecked violence and the painful cycle of abuse. It highlights how jealousy, control, and manipulation can escalate into something fatal, and how even those who survive the worst may still find themselves trapped in danger. Justice for Edwina is long overdue, but perhaps her story can prevent another woman from suffering the same fate.
Kick your
Yeah.
Who a
You.
You sure you want to take it there?
Bro.
You know my mama was doing when I was a baby.
You're a kid. You're a baby.
Tell my business?
You just told everybody your business. I just co-signed.
Don't worry about it. I see what the I got to do.
On the morning of April 16th, 2021, Levenia Gardner, 35, ran screaming through the streets of the 10600 block of South Hoxie Avenue in South Deering, Chicago, Illinois. Her body was consumed by second and third degree burns after her 35-year-old husband set her on fire. Just weeks earlier, they had exchanged vows in what they described as their dream wedding. Now, she was running for her life, desperate to escape the man she had promised forever to, but the injuries were too severe, and it wasn't long before the flames claimed her life. This is the gut-wrenching case of Levenia Gardner. Her story unfolds in Chicago, Illinois, a city celebrated for its iconic architecture and vibrant culture. But beneath its beauty lies a troubling truth. With a crime rate 34% higher than the national average, safety in Chicago is far from guaranteed. And it was within this complex and often dangerous landscape that the heartbreaking events surrounding Levenia Gardner occurred. Levenia was affectionately known by the people who were close to her as Vive. She was born in South Deering in Chicago, Illinois. While public records do not detail much about her childhood or immediate family, those who knew her described her as a woman full of life, kindness, and positivity. Her infectious smile and vibrant personality left an impact on everyone she met, and she was a source of light to those close to her. This vibrant personality would often be found on her social media pages, especially on Facebook, where she would often be seen hanging out and goofing around with her friends. She lived in Cook County, one of the most populous and diverse counties in the country, where the vibrant culture of Chicago met the everyday struggles of urban life. Levenia's educational background has not been widely shared, as she separated certain aspects of her life to what the public should know. Still, her upbringing and the kind of education she had would reflect on her professionalism and the way she carried herself. Levenia worked as a customer service representative at America's Financial Choice in the greater Chicago area, where she helped clients navigate financial matters. Her ability to listen with patience and respond with empathy made her a valued presence at work. Being a woman in her early 30s who had an established life and network of social life, there was only one thing that was missing in Levenia's life: a love life that would offer her warmth and connection that she so generously gave to everyone else. Levenia longed for a partner who would match her energy, someone who would not only support her dreams but build new ones with her. And in the spring of 2020, she will meet a man who will change everything for her. It was the 35-year-old man, Henry Taylor. The beginning of their relationship was not marked by a romantic meeting. At first, the nature of their relationship was only physical rather than a hallmark of emotional connection. But over time, something began to shift. The more they hung out, the more their connection deepened beyond the surface. What started as fleeting moments of companionship turned into something deeper. Henry was charming, confident, and he wasn't afraid to speak his mind. Those qualities made Levenia fall in love with him. But Henry wasn't the perfect man that he initially seemed like. Behind that facade of a charming man was a past that would foreshadow the tragedy that was coming. Henry had already served time in prison. He spent time in prison for theft and stolen motor vehicle convictions. More to this, Henry was a man who had anger issues. He himself admits that he is not afraid to do things that would satisfy his anger when he gets provoked. It was a past that would have driven other women away, but Levenia was different. Despite knowing his past in prison and his aggressive tendencies, Levenia stayed and continued with their relationship, a decision that would later cost her everything. On the surface, their relationship looked like something out of a love story. Their Facebook profiles painted a picture of happiness, smiling selfies, weekend getaways, and affectionate captions that spoke of deep love and unbreakable bonds. But behind it all, their relationship was far from ideal. It was marked by many breakups and reconciliations, which are usually a sign of a toxic relationship. To make it all worse, their reason for breaking up was not because of a lack of romance and love, but because of the explosive arguments they would constantly have. Henry's anger issues and aggressive tendencies did not help either. It only made it worse. And this aggression would eventually lead to a devastating tragedy. But before everything spiraled, Levenia and Henry, they had their highs. Henry would be incredibly sweet, surprising her with flowers, cooking dinner, and leaving love notes. And these highs led them back to each other. And on March 16th, 2021, they would seal their love for each other in what Levenia called their dream wedding.
I love you just because you make me so happy. I really thank you for being in my life. And you just are so beautiful. And I really cherish and adore you because you are the one that I want in my life forever.
You came into my life at a time where I couldn't even possibly imagine my worth. I vow to continue to inspire you as you have always inspired me. I promise to give you my eternal loyalty and heart, for you are the only man I would ever need. I'll listen to you. I'll nurture you. I'll fight, but I will be true. I will always do my equal share, and I will vow to never give up on you. From this day forward, I'm here. I'm right here, so you don't let go. You're my strength, my joy, my everything. And when you feel like the world is crumbling, look at me, because I'm your rock. I will love you, and I just want to thank you for choosing me. Because you chose me. I love you.
They did this while on a getaway in Las Vegas, where they gathered close family to witness the intimate exchange of vows. With the bright lights of the city as their backdrop, Levenia and Henry promised to love and honor each other, believing that whatever struggles they had endured were now behind them. Their wedding video showed nothing but pure joy and the couple's seemingly endless love for each other. To everyone watching online and in person, it looked like the happy ending they had both been searching for. Little did Levenia know that she had stepped into a deadly trap. In the weeks that followed, Levenia's Facebook painted the picture of a blissful newlywed life. She and Henry shared playful videos, romantic dinners, and snapshots of quiet moments, hand in hand, smiling like two people who had finally found forever. It looked perfect. Levenia looked like she was happy around this time. She shared smiles, celebrations, and moments that seemed full of life. But behind the screen, the same toxicity that had weighed down their relationship remained, hidden from the outside world. In the days leading up to Levenia's tragic death, she went on Facebook Live showing an aspect of their relationship that, on the surface, seemed wholesome. In the video, she and Henry could be seen sharing a seafood boil, laughing and casually talking with each other. But it was during this live session that Henry said something that hinted at the chilling thoughts that ruled his mind. At one point, Henry casually admitted to struggling with anger issues, brushing it off by calling it short man syndrome, almost as if it was something to be proud of. His tone carried no remorse, no apology, only a sense of stubborn acceptance. And then, he said something even more alarming.
I don't give a fuck about nobody else, homie.
He over here on his live.
No, I'm on your live. Matter of fact, I'm finna end
You
mine.
You ain't on my, you on your own motherfucking live.
I'm finna end mine and get on yours.
He's on his live.
My friend graduated. Your neck was like this.
That how my neck was?
My friend graduated. Big head, boy.
Look at this kid, y'all.
I got real friends getting education. Don't put me on your live because I don't fuck with some of them sucking on your page. I'm waiting to run into one of your. I'm waiting to run into one of your friends. I'm gonna open this motherfucking head up.
Baby, I put this thing on.
I'm gonna open his head up and set his on fire.
Thank you, Passion.
What somebody said congratulations?
Mm-mm.
Cause you ain't really. We ain't married, y'all.
You a motherfucking lying truth ain't in you.
Boy, we went to a photo shop. That's a photo shop.
Yeah, alright. Nigga a goofy.
That's a photo shop, boy.
How do you Photoshop? You a goofy. Yes.
Bro, I'm gonna kick your.
He a kid.
Who a kid?
You.
You sure you wanna take it there?
Bro.
You know my mama was doing when I was a baby.
You're a kid. You're a baby.
You my business?
You just told everybody your business. I just co-signed.
Don't worry about it. I see what the fuck I got to do.
Y'all should see him.
I'm finna do you like I'm finna Bro, don't put me in your fucking vibe, bro.
He over here banging this motherfucker core.
I'm hungry. I ain't ate all day.
Yes, you did. You had a whole gyro and some okra. And
You bought me a gyro and I'm some thought or something.
that's what the hell you wanted.
You want a gyro? I'm worth more
First
than that. I'm talking about shrimp.
That's why I got you crab eggs and shrimp. Didn't I just give you?
I'll take a sip.
Didn't I give you 3% tax?
3%. Then this. Oh, you gonna take all my stuff?
I bought it. What about that one? That was your 3% when I bought it.
What you mean?
Your Pepsi. I bought you a Pepsi sitting right there. And I bought your icy.
Hey, my mans, you getting too loud. You getting too loud.
I bought you 2.
Hey, you gonna have to speak to me. You gonna have to talk to me nice. Cause I'm about to fuck you up. I really got anger issues because I'm short as I really have the short man syndrome and I'll be ready to explode. I'm like, man, don't let me do this to you. I don't want to hurt you. What you mean, man?
Yeah, I really be tearing crab up worse than this,
boy,
but I am on live, so I ain't gonna let y'all see how I really be eating.
I will go back to prison. And I ain't going for a fight. I'm trying to break your motherfucking neck. And then stay there at the scene of the crimes.
That's why I like
eat one of these shrimp, man.
No, but really? So you trying to kill me?
Why you put that right there?
As the live continued, Henry's words took a dark turn. With a calmness that felt more chilling than rage, he openly admitted that he wasn't afraid of going back to prison. He spoke as if incarceration was just another part of life, something he had already endured and could easily return to. Then came the most disturbing part. With Levenia right in front of him, Henry declared that he had nothing to live for, and that if someone ever crossed him, he wouldn't hesitate to take their life. There was no humor in his voice, no hesitation in his tone, just a blunt, matter-of-fact threat dressed up as bravado. It was a moment that should have set off the alarms inside Levenia. She should have realized right then and there that the man she had married was not someone with whom anyone would be safe with. But instead, it passed like a casual comment, a terrifying glimpse into the storm that was quietly brewing beneath the surface. In the days that followed, there were no obvious signs that something catastrophic was about to happen. On social media, Levenia still appeared to be the same bright soul, sharing lighthearted posts, engaging with friends, and posting selfies that showed no trace of fear. But things would take a dark turn on the morning of April 16th, 2021. It started like any other day in the Englewood neighborhood of Chicago, where Levenia and Henry were staying. However, as the day progressed, the couple had gotten into another heated argument. The details of what those arguments were are not known, but it was something that escalated into something far beyond words. What happened next was something no one could have imagined. In a fit of uncontrolled rage, Henry grabbed a container of lighter fluid, and with Levenia standing just feet away, he doused her in it. And while she was soaked in that fuel, Henry flicked a lighter, threatening to set Levenia on fire. It was something that terrified Levenia. She knew that he was not bluffing, so she tried to tell Henry to stop whatever he was planning to, but instead of stopping, he continued flicking the lighter. And within seconds, the lighter that was flicking set Levenia on fire. In a desperate, instinctive act of survival, Levenia tore off her burning clothes as she screamed in agony. She ran toward the bathroom, trying to douse the flames with water, trying to save what little she could of herself. After the fire was extinguished, Levenia ran to the streets naked, desperate to get any help that she could. Remnants of her clothes and the plastic on her hair extensions had melted onto her skin. She suffered excruciating pain as she ran for 2 blocks until she reached the Chicago Fire Department's Engine 81 on 10458 South Hoxie Avenue, Chicago. There, she pounded on the door as she asked for help, telling the firefighters that her very own husband had poured gasoline on her and set her on fire. They rushed her inside and did what they could to help while the paramedics were called. Over 70% of her body was covered in second and third-degree burns. When the paramedics arrived, she was brought to the Trinity Hospital, but Her injuries were far too severe for them to handle, so doctors made the urgent decision to transfer her to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where she would get specialized treatment. Levenia would undergo multiple surgeries, clinging to life as her body fought through the unimaginable pain. But even as she lay in that hospital bed, broken and burned beyond recognition, she was able to make a statement. She knew that her husband was going to kill her. It was a chilling declaration, one that underscored the fears she had carried long before the flames ever touched her skin. Levenia still fought for her life, but despite her strength, the damage was too great. After over one excruciating month, Levenia's body finally succumbed to the trauma that her body suffered from her very own husband's cruelty. On May 21st, 2021, Levenia Gardner passed away at the University of Chicago Medical Center, surrounded by the shattered hopes of family and friends who had prayed for her recovery. But the story doesn't end with Levenia's death. The battle for justice would then follow. Her death was swiftly ruled a homicide, and there was no mystery about who was responsible. The man she had once trusted with her life, her own husband. And so the police immediately released a warrant of arrest for Henry Taylor for Levenia's death. But it wouldn't be a long fight for justice for them. On May 26, 2021, 5 days after Levenia's death, Henry turned himself in to the Rogers Park District Station, and there, he waived his rights against self-incrimination and gave a video-recorded statement, openly admitting to the crime he had committed. In the taped confession that sent chills through all who heard it, Henry admitted that he had knowingly set Levenia on fire. But he had his version of what had happened that morning. Henry said that he was not even close to Levenia when he was flicking the lighter, but she caught on fire, explanation that tried to downplay his intent, but ultimately did little to mask the horror of his actions. What he confessed to doing after was even more disturbing. Instead of calling for help for his wife, he called her grandmother and told her what he had done. Until now, it remains unclear whether it was a moment of guilt or simply the callous act of a man completely devoid of remorse. Following his chilling confession, on May 28, 2021, Henry Taylor appeared in the Cook County courts where he was formally charged with first-degree murder, and he's now being held without bond, which means that he will not be able to walk the streets freely until a verdict for this case has been finalized. As of now, Taylor Henry is still awaiting trial, and the details of his case are not publicly disclosed. Be that as it may, one thing is certain. He is now awaiting to face the consequences of the crime he has committed. As the legal process moves forward, the details of what happened that night send a wave of devastation to the people that was left by the untimely passing of Levenia Gardner. Family members, friends, and neighbors who once celebrated Levenia and Henry's marriage were now left grappling with an unthinkable tragedy. In the following days, a GoFundMe page was set up to help cover Levenia's funeral expenses, and in a short time, the fundraiser surpassed $6,000, which was a testament to how deeply Levenia's story resonated with so many. Levenia's funeral was held just weeks later, a bittersweet gathering that drew loved ones, friends, and even strangers whose story she had touched. To mourn her passing and to celebrate her life, the people she left behind released purple balloons to symbolize the light and love Levenia had brought into the world. It was a simple yet powerful tribute, a way of saying goodbye while holding on to the beauty she left behind. But even as the community came together to honor Levenia, the sadness of her loss remained. Her passing led to conversations beyond her neighborhood, highlighting the struggles that often go unnoticed in many homes. It became a reminder of the importance of recognizing the signs of domestic violence and the need for better support and resources. Levenia Gardner's story touched many lives and encouraged a wider conversation about helping those who may be silently facing difficult situations. As always, remember to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Perhaps someone learns from your experience or advice. I will talk to you again in another video. It's bye for now.